Well, the main thesis of the book is trying to understand how evolutionary theory can be in conversation with biblical texts that talk about the origin of humanity very differently than evolutionary theory. And the audience that I'm really trying to reach in this particular book is people who have already, for whatever reason, come to the conclusion that evolution is the proper understanding, scientific understanding of the beginnings of humanity, but who also are avid readers of the Bible and want to be conversant with what the Bible says, and bottom line, want to take the Bible very seriously. And that's sort of been a pressure point for Christians for about maybe 150 years or so at this point, maybe longer. And so I'm trying to help people like that, give them language and give them, I guess, categories to use to think through this issue for matters of personal faith and just simply understanding how to think Christianly in the modern world that we live in. The book is divided into two parts. The first part I deal with Genesis, and the second half I deal with the Apostle Paul, because Paul spends a little bit of time, more than any other biblical author in the New Testament, talking about Adam. And there, in both of those sections, the heart of what I'm trying to reach is, what do we have the right to expect of biblical authors writing in antiquity, who are writing about things like the origins of humanity? And I try to set both Genesis and the Apostle Paul in their own sort of context, and what could we expect them and their audiences to understand about human origins. And in fact, was human origins even what they were that interested in to begin with? Genesis has its own difficulties in terms of what role does Adam play in the book of Genesis. It's not as clear as I think many people automatically think that it is. But I think a far bigger problem for Christians is the Apostle Paul, because he refers to Adam in two places, in Romans chapter 5 and 1 Corinthians chapter 15, and he attributes to Adam the cause of human misery and human death, if I can put it that way. And so it seems that for Paul, the question of a first human is actually central to his theology. One of the points that I make in my book is that I don't think that Adam is central to Paul's theology. I think Christ is central to Paul's theology, and Paul brings Adam into the discussion to sort of explain who Jesus is and what he did and why it's earth-shattering and unprecedented.